guys in our squad.
Rudy.
Oh, yeah.
Stresses.
60 days or something.
Yeah, I've seen these.
They could take the will out of any person, because at the end of the day, you laugh when you're finished, they shave you again, or whatever. And all the commands there are French, when you speak French.
Lots of beer, you know why?
Right?
That was one part of the staff.
Always had a Spanish.
How do I get this?
Just turned 85 last month.
That was also Hubert's about Serbia.
noise because of, doing this because of.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, yeah. When I drove away the last time, as I was driving away, I sent a text to him. This is pretty much. Yes. Oh, man. You're coming home with me. Awesome. Ah, nice to meet you as well. We're hugging. This is hugging.
Was he the customs guy from the border? He used to come up here and stay all the
It's not like a No. I've seen that one.
Are they recording? I know, but why are they recording? Okay. So it hasn't recorded yet. Oh, it is. Can I use your phone to watch them? Yep, tub.
Going to school in the States, his parents were American, he ends up getting drafted. So when he was in Vietnam, and he was one of those tunnel monkeys going after the I wake up and wander the neighborhood. Strange. Very strange. He said those tunnels between poisonous snakes in them and poison holes in order to get the tunnels and stop them. The tunnel rats, that's what they call them. Those guys
Where's the camera?
Yeah, the camera's there.
Just did.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and do the bugle on the back. Probably right over here. This side here.
Yeah.
Put it in this.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. I'm not the sort of a person to use a mic, so I'll project. So if you can't hear me, I don't care. Thanks for coming. My father, by the way, so you know, my name is Sheldon. I'm the oldest in the family, He looks the oldest. This is Wayne, my brother. This is my sister, Tina. And Teresa is the tallest. She'll tell you every time. That's her there. We all very much thank you, along with my mother here. Thank you for coming. My dad would probably not want this to be super somber. He'd be glad that you're all here and that a few of you will cry. That much he would be very happy for. And so I'd like to thank you for him for coming. The plan today is, super informal. There will be, I'll tell a few lies. I've got to read a poem that he knows I'm going to cry at, because that's why he gave it to me. So I will try to get through it. I won't, but I'm going to try. My brother Dwayne will come up and finish the parts that I can't finish. Then I think really the plan is for anybody who would like to tell stories. Bill, if you want to talk about how often he cheated at golf, that's fine. Tex, if you want to tell stories from the military when he was heroic, that'd be great too. Anybody who wants to come up and use the mic or project, please do. It is just that open. So with that, I'm going to try to get through this little poem. The gentlemen here from the Legion are going to make a presentation, and they have something that they need to do too. So I think when I'm done, I'm going to ask that they come up and do what they had planned. There will be a song that plays, I think, Back in Black or something that they will play to recognize and honor his service in the military. So with that, I'm going to try to get through this poem. Laugh if you need to. All right. Can I get somebody to hold this far enough away?
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, this is called Just a Common Soldier. The political beliefs held in this poem are not necessarily the beliefs held by the management here. However, here I go. He was getting old and paunchy, and his hair was falling fast. And he sat around the Legion telling stories of the past, of a war that he fought in and the deeds that he had done, in his exploits with his buddies that were heroes every one. And though sometimes to his neighbors his tales became a joke, all his Legion buddies listened, for they knew whereof he spoke. But we'll hear his tales no longer, told you, for old Bill has passed away, and old Pat has passed away, and the world's a little poorer. That was for dramatic effect. A soldier died today. He will not be mourned by many, just his children and his wife, for he lived an ordinary, quiet, and uneventful life, held a job and raised a family, quietly going his own way, and the world won't note his passing, though a soldier died today. When politicians leave this earth, their bodies lie in state, while thousands note their passing and proclaim that they were great. Papers tell their life stories from the time that they were young, but the passing of a soldier goes unnoticed and unsung. Is the greatest contribution to the welfare of our land a guy who breaks his promises and cons his fellow man, or the ordinary fellow who in time of war and strife goes off to serve his country and offers up his life? A politician's stipend and style in which he lives are sometimes disproportionate to the service that he gives, while the ordinary soldier who offers up his all is paid off with a that the old Pats of our country went to battle, but we know. It was not the politicians with their compromised employees who won for us the freedom that our country now enjoys. Should you find yourself in danger with your enemies at hand, would you want a politician with his shifting stand, or would you prefer a soldier who has sworn to defend his home, his kin, and country? Come on. Or defend his home, his kin, and country, and would fight until the end. He was but, and his ranks are growing thin. If we cannot do him honor while he's here to praise, then at least give homage at the ending of his days. Perhaps a simple headline in a paper that would say, "Our country is in mourning for a soldier who died today."
You did it, Shel.
He had, pardon me a second, a presence that, not like hovering presence, he loomed like a mountain. You never knew if that mountain was going to rumble and avalanche down on top of you, but he was not just a big man, he was huge. That's my part.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Stop it. Anybody else want to speak? Or should I tell more lies? All right, I'll tell more lies. My dad was a mechanic first, and if those of you who are mechanics probably will know that mechanics don't carpenters make. Right? If you can't bolt stuff together, it's maybe not going to look all that good when you're done. And one of the last memories I have of him, I'm going to go with funniest memories I have of him, were we were building a arbor, I'll call it, gazebo in the backyard, and I'm also a mechanic. So my ability as a carpenter is not much better than his. So we're working with the saw, and Pop is cutting something for, I think, a little short fence we wanted. And so he's on the wrong side of the saw. And it's like a cutoff wheel kind of a thing. And he's got a piece of 2x4 in there. And anyone see where this is headed? So that's probably better. He's standing like that when the 2x4 shoots out of there and shoots him right where you imagine. So he's a big man, so all we got out of him was later on, I don't know if it was the same, it might have been the same, yeah, it was the same weekend. We were building the arbor. It's when, there's a photo of him here, you'll see that it's stuttering. That's what he looks like when we were done. So he was trying to cut a piece of wood for the, and then he was like that. That's one of the stories. My dad is the carpenter. The other story is one my sister alluded to in the obituary and in her comments in the obituary. When we were little, we lived in McGrath for a long time. My folks have lived in McGrath for a long time. I got away right away. But they're still there. So as children, at that time, there was a game called Bubble-matic, Pop-O-matic. For those of you who don't know, Trouble. For those of you who don't know, it's a little board game with a little plastic globe with a spring underneath of it and a little dice inside there, and you pop it, and the dice rumbles, and then you get to move your spaces around the board. And so it's I'm going to call it a Saturday morning. It's super early. If you were a Friday night kind of a guy, I'm going to say it was 10 o'clock. And we're playing the game. You know, I'm probably far too cool. I'm not really playing the game, but they were playing the game. And so you push this little, and the dice jumps around inside the globe, and it as you move your board thing, and then and around the board we go, and this looming presence stomps out of the bedroom in his ginch, just like a cartoon, and practically with the cartoon trails behind, and it's BAM! 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 Those Pop-O-matic things are tough, by the way. He was unable to destroy it, so he stomps back off to the bedroom to go back to sleep, and Dwayne, very observant, goes, "Does he want to take a turn?"
I think he rolled a 6.
He didn't want to take a turn. Anyway, anybody else who wants to say anything, please do. Otherwise, if there's anybody else, gentlemen.
Guess I'll use the mic. Does everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
In the presence of the last earthly remains of our comrade, Pat Gailing, whose loss we mourn, but whose spirit still lives, may we, as citizens and members of the Royal Canadian Legion, be charged anew with the full sense of our duties and responsibilities to our country and our organization. May we ever strive to uphold the principles of unselfish service, which led us to serve our God and our country in time of war and in peace, so that we may continue to serve even unto death. Farewell, comrade.
Farewell, comrade.
Farewell, comrade.
Farewell, comrade.
What should we do, Rexon?
Farewell, comrade.
Farewell, comrade. This man was much more than a comrade. He was my brother. I loved him like a brother.
O God, we remember before you those who laid down their lives for freedom and truth. We commend their souls into your gracious keeping and pray that we may be worthy of their sacrifice. Help us to be faithful and true to those ideals for which they fought and died. May we continue to perpetuate the memory of our departed comrades by our service to country, community, and comrades. And remember our solemn obligation, may we ever pray. Lord God of hosts, be with us yet, lest we forget, lest we forget. The congregation, please stand. We'll be praying the last post. Last post. Have a brief silence in memory of Pat. Okay, please have Rebelli. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Please be seated. Our Heavenly Father, grant we beseech you to the loved ones of our departed comrades your comfort and protection.
Sheldon, may I say a couple of words?
You please do. Please talk for about a half an hour, please.
No, I don't have to do that. Can you all hear me? I have a couple of stories to tell you about Pat. Pat and I would sit in our shack in Egypt on the Gaza Strip, and we'd get into the beer, and very often we'd get into too much beer.
No.
And Pat used to have a song that he used to sing whenever he'd have about half dozen beer. You've heard this song by Roger Miller. Dang me, gotta get a rope and hang me high from the highest tree. Woman, don't you weep for me. And he was singing that for Joe. That was one story that I'll never forget. After Pat and I got out of the service, we tracked each other down. I found where he was living, and every 2 years or so after that, we would go on our nostalgia trip to Saskatchewan, because we were born in Saskatchewan. And we would visit gravestones and graveyards and visit all our relatives, dead ones mostly, and travel around the country where we both had been born, in Moose Jaw for myself and in Elbow for Pat. And that was our nostalgia weekend. We'd spend some time at the Legion in Moose Jaw. We'd drink beer, of course, lots of beer, tell lots of lies, same stories. And of course, Pat told me so many stories so many times that I started to believe them. To finish, to conclude, I'd like to make a toast to Pat. Get up here, Dwayne. You're going to help me. And this is real beer. I know we're in a church, but we don't care today. You're going to help me. I'll give you the biggest glass.
He won't know what to do with that.
Oh, I know he knows what to do with that. Whoa.
With a glass.
This is a toast to Pat. He used to drink his beer and tomato juice. I can't stand tomato juice, so we're just going to drink beer. There we are. To Pat. My friend and my brother. I loved him like a brother. Thank you for coming.
Love you, Dad.
There you go. Well, you weren't supposed to actually drink it.
Don't go away.
There's more.
There's more. Pat, see, Pat would finish the bottle.
Yes, he would.
So we're going to finish the bottle.
And you can't let good beer go to waste. That's right.
That's a fact.
You got more than I got.
That's complaining. Thank you.
You forgot to say first today.
Oh yeah, he used to say that all the time. First, every time he talked to my wife, he'd say, "First today." And of course, she was already into her third or fourth glass of wine. Where are these girls? Where are these girls? I want to give these girls a hug. I never realized these women would grow up. I used to babysit them when they were little savages about so high.
Be careful, this might not be your best day.
Why not? Do you feel lucky?
Thank you. My condolences.
Yeah.
If there's anything I can do, you know who's gonna hold me.
I know that.
Take
Yeah.
care.
I don't know how many of you knew my dad really well, but we have dadisms that we grew up with. There was, he thought you were lying, he'd go like this. You see any shit in my eye? And again, if you thought you were lying, he'd go, your ass is sucking canal water. Always wanted to know how that worked. And or, I'll kiss your ass till I bark like a fox. And you go, where did he find these, or what made him think of these? But you knew when he said it, you knew you were in trouble. So if you got in trouble with Dad, you made sure you had his keys, and you could outrun him every day. So just keys in the hand and take off down the road and get out of Dodge.
Thanks, Teresa. Yeah, he was a patient guy, very patient. I'll tell you a story about his patience one time. I worked with him for a while. By the way, never do that. Never work with a parent. I worked with him for a while, and I lived in Lethbridge and he lived in McGrath, and we would make the commute into Tabor, which would be like no kind of time. It was a half an hour drive from my place. It'd be 45 minutes or an hour for him. And he would stop by and pick me up because he was that kind of a guy. I think it was to guarantee I actually would show up for work. But I didn't always get out to the car right on time. Not every time. Maybe not ever.
No, I'm thinking not.
And there were more than one day when I would bolt out the door with a lunch bag in hand to watch him drive away. And that's one of my most vivid memories of the patience of my dad. He became much more patient later on. I then got in my 10-speed because that was the thing back then, 10 speeds. And I rode there, only to find out that he didn't really care if I showed up or not. It was like a 5-hour ride. And I did my work, but he did not make me ride home. I got a ride. Patience was Pat's thing. Anybody else? Anybody have any stories? Come on, surely there's golf stories, arm wrestling stories. Junior, I know you're here. He crushed you every time, he said. By the way, we're in the presence of a world champion arm wrestling bunch there. That's mine and Junior. Arm wrestling, for those of you who don't know, is we're men who they like to hold hands. Sorry, I will likely pay for that with my life. All right, just enjoy.
No, I think Dee wants to tell us.
I wanted to tell a story about my brother.
All right. It's got to be true.
It is. Help me God, it's the truth.
Not too many stories about Pat that weren't true.
Many years ago, and I mean really many years ago, when my brother was about 5 years old or 6, and of course I'm 3 years older than him, so. But anyway, we lived on the farm and we had a basement, but not like a basement. It was a dugout.
Oh, crawl space.
Yeah, and my mother found tobacco in my brother's pockets and caught him smoking out behind the barn. And what she did was she gonna teach him a lesson, So she took him back to the house and she put him down in that dark basement, that dark dugout, And she left him down there for about an hour or something like that, teaching him a lesson. When she opened the basement up, guess what? There was just a bunch of smoke. She forgot to check his pot. And that is the truth, so help me God. I was there and witnessed that.
Thank you. 5 years old, so boys was trying.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, I'll tell another story. So, my Natasha and I and her mom lived in a little house on the highway in McGrath. And it would probably be best described as a granary that had power. And it had all the modern conveniences like plumbing. And in the bathroom there was external plumbing, like the water lines ran along the wall. So we're talking highfalutin stuff. And Pop, he was over visiting because it was all the way across the street to come. So he had to come to visit, and he had decided he needed to use the facilities. And he wasn't the sort of a guy that would use anyone else's facilities easily, but he steeled himself for the challenge. And he's in there, and I hear, oh, and he bursts through the bathroom And across the street in the 100-yard dash in 5.5 seconds, and I go into the bathroom to find out what was so exciting, and there was a garter snake had held itself upon the, so he was a 280-pound man afraid of a 4-ounce garter snake. So much so that he stopped a physiological movement. I don't know if it was a problem medically later on, but it was not good for him. I could probably come up with these lies like for a while yet to come. Dustin, maybe you want to tell a story about poop?
Oh, he's hiding. In the back.
Okay. Tina, maybe you want to tell it?
No.
No? Okay, I'll tell it. Okay, so the story about poop. He has this kind of thing with bodily fluids and substances. Forever, when Dustin was little, and where are you, Dustin? He looms as well. He's a giant. But when he was not, he was little. In fact, imagine he was so small I could dangle him over the toilet. And I did. Anyway, the story is that forever, when Grandpa asked Dustin what he wanted for Christmas, or when Dustin asked Grandpa what they wanted for Christmas, back and forth it went a bucket of poop. And the clever creature that he is, one Christmas, someone opened their present, that'd be the big fella, and it was a bucket of poop. No, it wasn't really poop. It was cow poop, because there was an infinite supply of that stuff. The very next year, the favor was returned. I don't know, do you still have that bucket of poop? I don't know if Pop kept his either. It's with the snake.
Yeah, with the snake.
I know Rudy, that's Dad's son-in-law, never beat Dad in a game of cribbage ever. Tina's husband Ken never beat Dad in a game of crib ever. The 29 hand that sits up there on the table was what his normal hand was. Cheated. In case you wondered. I have any stories about golf? Oh, he would occasionally take me golfing. And there was nothing more that caused him more anxiety than when at the first tee box in McGrath, with the whole world watching apparently, and CTV had their cameras going, and I would get up to drive the ball, and I don't know how to golf for nothing. So I would, you take your time, because that's what you're supposed to do, and like he's absolutely panicked about, oh no, don't stand here, move your hand, no, let it backswing. I thought this was supposed to be relaxing this. And I would crank on it, and it actually would go 40 or 50 yards nice and straight down the fairway, so perfect for me. And he would go, oh, wow, this game is way too hard for me. Like he was panicked that I was going to shank it, which I did every other hole after that. In fact, there was a story about Bill, one of Dad's friends, is an avid golfer, and his daughter was an awesome golfer as well. And I got to go golfing with Bill and my dad and Bill's daughter, who I think was 5. I'm going to go with 5 at the time. And 18 holes, she outdrove me 17 times. I put away my golf clubs after that.
Yeah, he took me out to the driving range once out in McGrath. And he says, well, you can just use my clubs. And I said, well, I can't use your clubs. Well, why? Because I golf left-handed. Well, what's the matter with you? What else you do left-handed? Aren't you right-handed? Well, yeah, but I bat left-handed too. Or I suppose you play hockey left-handed too. Yeah, I do, Dad. I can't use your clubs. So he's a little ticked. He had to rent me some clubs. And he said, and then you just stuck them way over there. Those poor kids got to get them, So that's the last time I ever golfed with him too. I can't golf.
You love to golf, but you needed to be able to golf.
Yeah.
That explains why he only took me once.
Yeah, I think for him it was more hair envy, but okay.
As Ed, I remember when I was playing ball too, I was catcher. And he says, well, let's see what you got. And my dad didn't hold back. He wung that ball so hard it knocked the glove right off my hand. I said, oh, I think I'm done now. I don't think I wanna play catcher anymore. Oh, come on, you're tougher than that. My hand was so red, and I had a good glove. My hand was so red. I said, yeah, I don't think so. The next one he threw, I got out of the way and hit the fence. Cracked the fence. I said, we don't pitch like that in slow pitch, Dad.
He came from a different time. Like, the time he's from is different from the time that these guys are from. Yeah, you. Anyway, I was in school, and as a child, might have been grade 1 or grade 2, and kind of a wallflower, mousy little thing that sat off in the corner, too afraid to say boo. But the kid in front of me, that was a different kid altogether. And that kid would not shut up. Oh, I'm looking at you. Anyway, this kid yakety, 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 and it's a different time. So the appropriate response from the teacher at the time was to take the math book and flip it. But the kid in front of me was a smart one, so he ducked. But I didn't. So it caught me full face, and I had a nosebleed. And this teacher, who was a big fellow too, had to come home after school that day and tell my dad, who loomed, what had happened. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, retribution. This is gonna be good. He's gonna kick some. No, he probably deserved it, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's what the teacher heard was, oh, he probably deserved it. Yeah, different times. No retribution. I'm pretty sure, in fact, I am absolutely certain, they left to have a beer.
Naturally.
Naturally. I don't think I have any more stories. I'll just make them up, though. Kingston, you got a story? Here's your chance.
I remember this one time, so we were like golfing, and this was like 3 or 4 years ago, I don't know. Anyways, I was putting, and I was about to putt. He came up behind me, and I went like this, and I smacked him right in the head.
Yeah, made him bleed.
Yeah.
That's how golf works. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt him.
No.
No, it didn't hurt him.
I guess if you're not bleeding, you're not playing.
More importantly, though, did you make the shot?
I don't think I did. I think I missed anyways.
You needn't sit around awkwardly. We're just glad to have you all here. Talk amongst yourselves. Mom, do you want to say anything? You want to talk? Tina? Dwayne? Thank you very much, sir. It was super pleasant to have you. How about you? Yes, I didn't recognize you over here. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't have missed this. He probably was my best friend.
Sorry.
Yeah, we were close. We were so close, we shared each other's secrets, things that no one else would know. Nice to see you.
Well, none that are fit for public consumption. His wife is here.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's okay. I'll just watch what I'm doing.
You'll never find her again. Oh, in exactly the same place.
Kai was.
Kai, yeah,
Kai was.
Kai, yeah.
So young, I think he might have been 18. That's all right.